No, thank you. Please take your stuff. I don't want it. No, please take your stuff. I don't want it. These people are sting ops. He said that these people are sting ops that are deliberately harassing and terrorizing me. Ever since I've become homeless, well, it looks like this person's coming back to cause more trouble.
Hey. You need to learn a little bit more respect, man. My fucking wife is freaking out because she thought you wanting some food or something like that. And you go and you fucking cut her off like that, you're a fucking dick, you know that? You ain't no good at all.
Excuse
she just
me.
felt sorry for you, man. And you said you fucking turned it down.
I didn't do anything.
You could at least fucking say you could have just kept it for you to make it feel a little better.
I'm not here to take charity. I'm not a bum.
And quit fucking acting like you're a bum, man.
Sitting down is not acting like a bum.
She thought you was something wrong with you.
Disabled and partially paralyzed.
Fucking mouth is paralyzed.
Why don't you stop insulting people for no reason? Because you're looking for trouble. That's what you guys are doing. This is what it's like for me to be homeless and to be targeted by a Portland Police and Multnomah County Sheriff's sting operation. They don't leave me alone. They won't leave me alone. They won't stop harassing. They don't stop terrorizing. And they're constantly staging fights. They'll deliberately, it's like being stalked by literally by a church that deliberately it's like being stalked by 20 to 30 different people that's not the first time these people have approached me today. That's the second time they approached me. The first time, they're trying to dump a bicycle on me. The second time, you just witnessed the second time. They're trying to dump garbage next to me. They're sting ops. They're Multnomah County Sheriffs and or Portland Police sting ops, and they're deliberately trying to plant paraphernalia near me under the pretense of trying to be. They try to act like they're being helpful. The first time they walked by, they came from this direction, and then they went this way. And they had a bicycle with them. And the female was trying to leave a bicycle here. She was literally saying to me, "You want a bicycle? You want a bicycle?" And she was saying this fucking shit. And I'm like, "No, I don't want that. I don't want it." So they, and then they were like, "Do you want some food?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want any food." I'm like, "Just leave me the fuck alone." And then they took off in that direction. And that was like about an hour and a half ago. Well, they came back just now. And once again, they approached the dude. When they came back, the dude was sat over there by that flower pot with the red flowers in it. He's sitting there, lit up a cigarette. And then the gal that's with him showed up. And then he got up, and then they started walking this direction. And then she just started walking right over here. They got right about right there. And then she just started walking this direction. She just dumped a shit ton of food and stuff. Paraphernalia, if you will, there. So they're insisting on dumping shit toward, at me. Now they're doing this because they're sting ops and they're performing for video surveillance, for their own video surveillance. Now when they came back, and they sat down at that near that flower pot over there with the red flowers, I turned my cell phone on, and my cell phone takes like a minute to power up, because I knew damn well these people were sting ops, and knew damn well they're going to try something. So I tried to power up my cell phone, and while I'm waiting for my cell phone to power up, they started walking in this direction, and they got about right there. And once they got about right there, she started walking towards me, and it was just as she started walking towards me, that's when I hit the record button, and she's just like walking in this direction, and she just plopped a bunch of food crap right here. And you know, I'm telling her, no thank you, take your stuff. I don't want your stuff. And they're deliberately they're trying to force me to take paraphernalia from them. I'm pretty damn sure the bicycle they're trying to dump here was probably stolen, because they want to frame me for they are sting ops, so they obviously want to frame me for crimes. And this is the type of shit that they do. More often than not, what these sting ops will do is they'll show up, no matter where I'm at. It doesn't matter where in Portland, Oregon here I'm at. They'll just show up and they'll say, "You got a light?" They'll ask me if I can give them a light, and I say, "No, I can't. I refuse." You know, because I'm not going to do a hand-to-hand exchange with anybody out on the fucking street. I already know that the Multnomah County Sheriff's and the Portland Police Department sting operatives count very highly on getting hand-to-hand exchanges on video surveillance. Now, I'm going to have to stop talking because somebody else is walking by and I don't want them to hear. Okay, now that everybody's walked by, okay, here comes another person. We'll see if this person's a sting op or not. Okay, now that everybody's walked past, usually these sting ops that deliberately harass and terrorize, they usually show up in a repeated pattern where within every 5 minutes to every 15 minutes, one of them will show up and they'll ask me a question. It's all... Each and every one of them, they ask a question. And they'll usually ask some question like, they'll say, "Do you got a light?" Or they'll say, "Can they buy a cigarette?" Or something like that. And it's just a bullshit act on their part, because they already have lighters, they already have cigarettes, and chances are some of them aren't even smokers. They're just doing it because they're sting ops. And they want to get on video a hand-to-hand exchange. And so I refuse any requests for like if somebody tries to buy a cigarette from me, I just refuse. I just say, no, sorry, can't do that. And if they ask for a light, I say, sorry, I can't do that. And then they usually pretend to be very angry, and then they make threats. Some of these sting ops have threatened to hit me for refusing to give them a light. So these sting ops get very angry when these sting ops, they get very angry when they make a request and I decline it. They get very pissed. Now, what these sting ops just did, that I've just caught on video, this is the norm for these sting ops. Literally, this is the norm. I can sit here, do nothing, and say nothing, and do nothing to draw their attention. I'm just sitting here doing nothing, and they'll deliberately approach me and then make unreasonable requests, or they'll ask some asinine question. Earlier today, a sting op drove by on a bicycle. Some dude, he rode by here on a bicycle, and he stopped right here. He stopped right here in front of me. He asked me 2 questions. He said, "Do you got a light?" That was his first question he asked, and I said, "No, I don't." And then he said to me, "Have you seen 2 detectives around here?" And I said, no, I didn't answer that question. And he's just flaunting the fact at this point he's a goddamn sting op harassing me. And I said to him, "That's a very odd question to ask." And he's like grinning and smirking, and he's putting on this bullshit act, and he's like, "Well, I always keep tabs of everything around here," and that kind of shit. And he's grinning and smirking, and then he took off on his bicycle, and he drove in that direction behind Biomart over there, and then banked right. Now, this is a repeated process that they do over and over and over and over and over again. They don't really hide the fact from me that they're sting ops, but it's near impossible for me to catch them, because usually I don't have my cell phone in my hand. I usually don't have my cell phone recording, and they'll just surprise. They just pull up right alongside me, like on a bicycle or something, or they'll just walk right up. They'll walk this way as if they're going to pass me, and then they'll stop, and then they just walk right all over here. So I have no time to actually grab my cell phone, and I have no time to grab my cell phone, and no time to hit the record button. And then they'll ask some asinine question like that, and it's basically their way of making it known that this Portland Police and County Sheriff's sting ops are following me everywhere I go, and are constantly harassing, and are using an organized harassing campaign. Yesterday I was, this is 122nd, by the way, that street right there, and there's Wells Fargo on 122nd. I'm currently in Northeast Portland right now. Well, yesterday I was on 82nd. Just a minute, there's somebody nearby, I'm going to have to wait. Okay, yesterday I was on 82nd. I was on 82nd, Southeast 82nd, near Fred Meyer's. I was near No, I wasn't near Fred Meyer's. I was more near 82nd and Woodstock. I wasn't on Woodstock, but I was like a block away from it on 82nd. And I was walking down the sidewalk, and well, hobbling actually, because I have to use, I have to use a cane because I'm partially paralyzed from being poisoned by my wife, who was having an affair with a cop at the time. And some dude riding a bicycle rode right up to me and stopped. I had no warning, no chance, no warning that this person was going to do this. He's just riding a bicycle on the sidewalk. He rides right up to me and he stops and he's grinning at me and he says to me, "Do you drink coffee?" This was yesterday. This was yesterday. And I practically blew up at the dude because I knew damn well he was a goddamn fucking sting-off. And I said, "What the fuck kind of question is that? That's none of your fucking business. Whether I'd have coffee or not have coffee. That's none of your fucking business, asshole." And he grinned even more broader, and then he just took off on his bicycle. And he went down the block, about a block away, and there was another dude that was a block away behind me, and the person on the bicycle stopped, and he was talking to that dude. So they're sting ops, and they're basically using an organized harassment campaign to harass me while I'm homeless and on the streets. Now, this is just one incident. That I've actually recorded where the sting ops are harassing me. The only reason I was able to catch this time was because this is the second time they've done this. This is not the first time these particular two people have done this to me. So when they were over there near that flower planter over there with the red flowers in it, when they're over there, I was expecting them to pull another stunt. Like I did before. So I grabbed my cell phone and tried to power it up in time. And I basically got it powered up in time and hit the record button in time. So I basically caught them in the act of trying to dump paraphernalia at me. And then when I refused their paraphernalia, well then they fucking threatened me. They fucking threatened. They don't mind their sting ops don't mind their own business. They're not normal people. And they don't hide the fact they're not normal people, because they're not normal people because normal people will leave you alone. And sting off, they don't leave people alone. They harass and sting offs will harass and terrorize people. And sorry, I had to be quiet there for a minute because other people were walking by. Sting ops deliberately and intentionally harass their target. And but I don't know they're a sting op, until they usually do something. The moment they start to harass and terrorize me, they're identifying themselves as a sting op. Their pretense of pretending to be helpful is just bullshit, because this is not the first time they did that. This is the second time. The first time they did this, they came from this direction and were going in this direction, and they had a bicycle with them, and the woman was trying to give me this bicycle, and I was refusing the bicycle. I'm like, "No, thank you. No, thank you. Take it with you. No, thank you. I don't want it." And she was being insistent. She was being fucking insistent. I'm like, "No, thank you. I don't want your anything." He's a sting off. He's a sting off. the sting ops that are harassing and terrorizing me, they don't act normally. They don't try to hide it from me. You have to understand that the sting ops, they deliberately use street theater performances, and they do it for their own video surveillance purposes and for the purpose of harassing and terrorizing their target. They know I'm homeless, so I'm pretty much at their mercy. I mean, they can do whatever they want to harass and terrorize me. They know that I don't have living family members that I can turn to for help. I can't find anybody that will help me, and I am homeless. And because I'm homeless and have no place to go, well, I'm easy prey for Multnomah County Sheriff, Portland Police sting operatives. They treat their harassment tactics like it's a sport. It's like they deliberately perform for video surveillance. And if I don't go along with their performances, like what this bitch is, and that dude is with that bitch is insisting I take their bullshit charity at the threat of violence, literally. It's like, no, fuck you. I don't want your fucking charity. Fuck off. Leave me the fuck alone. I'm not bothering you. Don't bother me. And but they don't hide it from me that they're sting off. They deliberately make it known to me. Now, normally I'm not able to catch them in time on video. But on this particular time, I had a warning, because this is the second time those very same two people pulled this shit. This ain't the first time. It's the second time. So when they came back in this direction from that flower pot over there, and they sat down, that dude sat down and waited for that woman to catch up to him. And that was my warning that, gee, they're back for round two. So I grabbed my cell phone and hit the power button to turn it on. And it takes about a minute, almost a minute, for my cell phone to power up. It takes about a minute. Now, as you can see, the vast majority of people, and here's another person. Now, as you can see, there is a lot of activity going on here. Normally, there is not this much activity in this area. The reason there's this much activity The reason there's this much activity is because I'm a target of a sting. Notice over there's a car with the headlights on, aimed right at me. This is the type of shit that these sting ops do. Now, these cars are going the wrong direction. They're sting ops because of it. I hope you can see the arrow right there. The arrow is pointing in that direction, not this direction at all. The reason there's this much commotion, and I'm going to aim back at the car with the headlights on. The reason this is happening is because I'm a victim of a Multnomah County Sheriff and Portland Police sting operation. And they're using a very organized tactic to harass and to terrorize. Like I said earlier, about an hour and a half ago, some dude was riding a bicycle from over there and came in this direction. He was coming around this way, going this way, and then he just turned and aimed towards me and stopped right here. And he said to me, "Do you got a light?" And I'm like, "No." And he said, and then he asked me the question, "Have you seen two detectives in this area?" And I'm like, he might as well just flat out admitted to me he's one of the fucking sting ops that is harassing and terrorizing me. And I fucking said to him, "That's a very odd question for you to be asking." And he just grinned with a broad grin. And he said, with a very broad grin, he's like, "Well, I just keep tabs on things around here," kind of like that. And then he took off in that direction, went over there on the other side of Weimar. Now, there's probably several, if not a dozen people today that are targeting me in this manner. It's sort of like drive-by. You know, everybody's heard of drive-by shootings. Well, the sting operation that's targeting me, they do essentially drive-by harassment, where they'll either show up on foot and then ask some annoying question, and then they'll usually do it in such a way where they're making it known they're involved or a part of it, the sting operation that's targeting me. Or they'll like drive by on a bicycle, and they'll ask some kind of annoying fucking question in such a way where they're making it known they're involved in it. I'm just letting my phone record because they may try it again very soon. I might as well, since I have the phone recording, I might as well just leave it on. I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm just going to sit here and let my phone record, and we'll see if these sting ops try something else. They most likely will. I should point out, since nothing's currently happening right now, I should point out the fact that they have signs all over this area telling people no loitering and no soliciting. And these sting ops are trying to frame me as a loiterer and as a solicitor. Because I'm just sitting here and resting because I'm disabled and partially paralyzed and in pain. But I am a paying customer. Winco is right over there where you see that blue roof way down there on that building down there. That's Winco down there. Winco food store. It's a grocery store. And I buy my lunch there, and I buy coffee there, and I just purchase some sugar in there for my coffee. And so I'm a paying customer. I'm not a loiterer, and I'm not a solicitor. But these fucking sting ops are trying to frame me as such. They try to make me look that way for their video surveillance. And of course, when I don't go along with their bullshit, they immediately make threats and make demands and take our charity or I'll beat the crap out of you attitude. You know, in other words, they're just performing for video surveillance. And I just happened to catch this one incident on video, but you have to understand that this isn't the first time that sting ops have done this to me ever since I've become homeless. I mean, this is like a repeated, every single day I'll get asked 20 different times a day by sting ops for a light. And every single one of them is a fucking sting op. Every single goddamn one of them. And it's sick because the Portland Police and the Multnomah County Sheriff, they're actually using their own teenagers in sting operations to ask those type of questions of me. And so the Portland Police and Multnomah County Sheriff will send their teenage brass at me, and they'll just pretend to be gang members, and they'll walk up to me, even though there's a store like half a block away where they can go buy a lighter. They'll walk up to me and ask me for a fucking light. And I'm like, no. And I say to them, no. And then they fucking start yelling and cussing, and they pick a fight. So they're picking a fight with somebody that's partially paralyzed and has done nothing to them. I've done nothing to these people. All because I refuse to give them a light. So it's like they're sting ops that deliberately harass and terrorize. And if you don't do what they want, they make threats. And they'll cuss at you. They'll cuss at me, and they'll yell and scream, and they'll make threats. Okay, that car that had the headlights aimed at me is no longer there. It moved. But I hope you noticed that that car was aiming their headlights right at me. As you can see, it's a sunny blue sky day. The time right now is 4:18. No, wait a minute. 4:23. I'm sorry. It's 4:23 in the evening. The date today is October 8th, 2015. I forgot to mention the date. But no, this is the type of harassment that I have to put up with. And it's usually a lot worse than this. And literally every single day, I guess no matter where I'm at, I'm not sitting here panhandling. I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here in this little cubby area where there's really nothing. And I'm just kind of sitting here. And as you can see, I've just done basically a 360-degree turn so you can see the surrounding area. And I have, I'm doing nothing. I'm bothering nobody. I'm doing nothing. I'm just sitting here, basically resting. What do most people do when they're home? They sit in a recliner and they rest. Well, gee, I'm homeless, so I don't have a home, so I'm going to have to sit down someplace outside. And that's all I'm doing is I'm just sitting down outside. And I just get harassed and terrorized by these organized sting ops. And it's constant. I mean, my wife, Joan Wager, was having an affair with Portland cops, Officer Eric Carlson and his partners. And my wife's daughters were also sleeping around with Officer Eric Carlson's partners. So it was personal on their part to set me up for shit. And when I found out that they were using my wife's lover as a body double to impersonate me, I tried to warn people about it, and that's when my wife poisoned me. The Portland Police Department used their power of influence at the hospital to deny me emergency services and covered up the poisoning, and no toxicology test was taken as a result of the Portland Police Department influence. And from that point forward, while I'm in this debilitated condition from being poisoned, my wife, Joan Wager, and her daughters continued to sleep around with these Portland cops, and they continued to set me up for crimes while I'm in a debilitated condition. Everybody at my wife's place of employment at Eastport Walmart in 2005 knew this was happening. Eastport Walmart employees nicknamed my wife's lover, Officer Eric Carlson. They nicknamed him Double Click because he was a look-alike of me. Not an exact look-alike, but close enough of a look-alike. He was a brunette and I'm a blonde. And he dyed his hair blonde so he could fucking impersonate me and act as a double. And my wife was recruiting our daughters into this conspiracy and was recruiting them into posing with Officer Eric Carlson. And when I found out about this, I tried to warn people about it, and then that's when my wife poisoned me. And everybody at my wife's place of employment at Eastport Walmart, 2 weeks after my wife poisoned me, everybody at my wife's place of employment at Eastport Walmart nicknamed my wife Mrs. Dash, or Dash for short. So everybody at Eastport Walmart in April and May of 2005 that worked in that store knew my wife, Joan Wager, was having an affair with Officer Eric Carlson and was palling around with Officer Eric Carlson and his partners, and knew my wife was hooking our daughters up with Officer Eric Carlson's partners, and knew Officer Eric Carlson dyed his hair blonde so that he could impersonate me by acting as a photo double. And they knew my wife poisoned me. Now, while I'm in this debilitated condition, they continued to set me up for crimes. Well, in the year 2007, Officer Eric Carlson and his partners and their whore-ass girlfriends committed a murder. And they were trying to fucking set me up to get the blame. I'm still in a debilitated condition from being poisoned. And for the most part at the time, I was, for the most part, bedridden. And they broke into, my wife aided and abetted Officer Eric Carlson and his partners. And they broke into my home. Okay, this bitch has already rode by me, and now she's riding by again in a pink shirt, riding a bicycle. This is the second time she's rode by me, so this is enough to identify her as a sting-off. I wasn't sure the first time I seen her go by if she was a sting-off or not. But since this is the second time she's rode by, she's definitely a sting-off. Definitely. They were trying to. My wife in 2007 helped Officer Eric Carlson and his partner Officer John Ray to break into my home, and they were trying to set me up for a murder by planting evidence, and they were trying to set me up as a pedo. And Officer Eric Carlson had his hair dyed blonde like mine, and he was posing for photogenic photos with our youngest daughter, who was 17 at the time, in her room. And it was Officer John Ray and their whore-ass girlfriends, Joan Wager being one of them, that were taking photogenic photos of Officer Eric Carlson while he posed with our youngest daughter. And they were trying to set me up as a pedo by using Eric Carlson as a double. And it was these sting operatives, and there were several of them that did this. It was Officer Eric Carlson, Officer John Ray. There was two other female officers, one named Erica, who's a white Caucasian female with blonde hair, and another female named Adrian. She's a black female. She's African American. And then, of course, my wife, Joan Wager, and our youngest daughter, Kaylee Wager, aided and abetted them in this operation. Now, there was more people involved. I'm going to have to turn away because there's some other people walking by, and I don't want to get them on video. So, there was other people that were involved in this operation, and that were indirectly involved. There were several people that were directly involved in helping my wife and her lover to set me up for a fucking murder and to set me up as a pedo. And there were several more that were indirectly involved. So in total, there was around 15 or so people that were involved in that sting operation in 2007. And they were trying to set me up for their crimes. There was at least 15 people involved in that sting operation in 2007. At least. There were several of them that were directly involved. There were several more that were indirectly involved. When Officer Eric Carlson and Officer John Ray and their whore-ass girlfriends committed this murder and then planted evidence in my home to set me up to get the blame, and then they used Eric Carlson as a double to pose with our youngest daughter. When these sting operatives got done with this, they all headed as a group to Clackamas Walmart, where they met up with their superiors in law enforcement. Met up with them in the front lobby there at Clackamas Walmart. And basically, their superior showed up to pick up the photogenic photos that those sting ops took. So these sting ops were operating under orders from their superiors. Officer Eric Carlson and his partners and their whore-ass girlfriends were operating under the direction of their superiors in law enforcement. to plant evidence in my home and to use Eric Carlson as a double and to take photogenic photos of him posing with our daughter. Because their superiors showed up at Clackamas Walmart to meet up with these sting ops and to pick up the photogenic photos they took. The reason I know this is because their criminal activities they committed in my home woke me up. And thinking I was catching my wife in her affair with an armed cop, I put an audio recorder in her purse so that I could prove their ongoing affair and prove that they broke into my home that morning and were in my home that morning, and to find out what the fuck's going on. And so when my wife, Joan Wager, left that apartment after they committed these crimes, her and her sting buddies went straight to Clackamas Walmart, and she took her purse with her, and I put my audio recorder in her purse, and they were discussing the crimes they committed. As soon as they left my apartment, they discussed the crimes they committed, and when they got to Clackamas Walmart, they were bragging to my wife's sister, Vicky Rosales, about everything that they just got done doing. And my audio recorder was in my wife's purse, and it's catching the entire conversation. This is how I know that they committed a murder and that they were setting me up as a pedo, and that they're setting me up to get the blame for the crimes that they committed, and that my wife, Joan Wager, and her sister, Vicky Rosales, and our daughters are involved in this and are connected to these sting ops. Just the fact that my wife and our daughters, as well as my wife's sister, are palling around with and sleeping around with these sting ops at 6 in the fucking morning, and they're trying to hide it. That's enough to know they're having sexual relations with these officers, and that they're trying to hide and conceal their personal relations with these sting ops. Now, I caught their crimes. Literally, I caught them in the commission of committing these crimes on an audio recorder, and I am personally catching them in the act. But I'm in a debilitated condition and can't really do anything about it because they poisoned me. Now, I try to warn people again about this, and they poisoned me again. And they majorly, publicly vilified me behind my back, and they did this using organized tactics. Okay, so who's he from?
Hey, do you mind if I get a picture? Do you mind if I get a picture?
What?
Do you mind if I get a picture?
Of what?
You.
No, I don't think so. No.
I don't think so. All right.
See what I mean about the sting ops? They're guilty of murder, These sting ops are guilty of murder. This is why they're doing this shit. They're guilty of fucking murder. This is why they're doing this fucking shit. Officer Eric Carlson and Officer John Ray committed a murder. Yeah. They don't even try to hide it. They don't even fucking try to hide it. They don't even try to hide it, man. They don't even try to hide it. Your fucking partner's murdered a kid. Fucking sting off. This is the kind of shit. Notice how they grin. Notice how they smirk. Well, I hope you notice the sting ops, they don't act normally. They don't act normally at all. I'm just sitting here doing nothing, minding my own business. I'm not really doing anything. I'm just sitting here. As you can see, I'm just sitting here. I'm disabled. I'm partially paralyzed. I'm on SSI. I'm not doing anything. I'm not bothering anybody. I don't approach anybody or accost anybody or say anything to anybody. I just sit here. And I'm just sitting here in the shade, essentially, and just resting. And this is the kind of shit these sting ops do to people. They don't even try to hide it. It's a constant harassment. It is a fucking constant harassment. They don't even try to hide it. It's like being harassed and terrorized by the KKK. Literally, it's the same thing. It's no fucking different. It's like being gang-stalked by the fucking KKK, and they just deliberately harass and terrorize and provoke and threaten and intimidate, and they constantly pose for their own photogenic photos and for their own video surveillance. Notice how they keep trying to hand me something. Notice how they keep trying to hand me something. That's a tactic sting ops use all the time, because they can frame people as drug addicts that way. They're trying to cover up the fact that my wife is a poisoner and that the cops gave her ass permission. They're trying to hide it. Now, now, you just witnessed two different sting ops, or groups of sting ops, I should say. Generally using the same tactics to harass and terrorize. And you notice that they just grin. You know, they don't even care if I know. They're not hiding it at all. They deliberately harass and terrorize. It doesn't matter where I'm at. If I go, I'm on 122nd right now. If I go to 82nd, they'll follow me there. And they harass me on 82nd. If I go to 181st, they do the same thing. They follow me there, and then they harass me there. And if I'm in 181st, well, I'm not in Portland anymore. I'm in the town of Gresham. If I go to 181st, and so they still follow me. And it's just a constant state of harassment and terrorizing. They'll constantly ask questions. They'll constantly try to dump paraphernalia on me, and they'll constantly put their hand out like that because they're performing for their video surveillance, and they're trying to make me look like a panhandler, or they're trying to make me look like a solicitor or a loiterer, or as a drug addict or something. They're trying to frame me because they want to cover my wife's ass. They want to cover the cops' asses that gave her permission to poison me to death. So it's like being ganged up on by a cult, literally. They won't leave me the fuck alone. I mean, I can have my cigarettes here put away in my pocket here and not visible like that. There, my cigarettes are now put away. And it doesn't change the fact that sting ops will approach me and they'll ask for a light. Or they'll bum for a cigarette. Each time I tell them, no, I can't. And then they deliberately pretend to get mad and angry. And it's a pretended act on their part. Because they're performing for video surveillance. Their own video surveillance. And they'll deliberately, intentionally do this shit. They'll put their hand out. And the reason they do that is because they're posing. They're sting ops, and they're posing for their own video surveillance. So I refuse to do hand-to-hand exchanges with these pedophile sting ops. I refuse to do anything with these people. And I hope you notice that for them, it's a sport. They treat it like it's a goddamn fucking sport, too. They enjoy doing this shit to people. Multnomah County Sheriffs and the Portland Police Department, they enjoy doing this shit to people. And they use their own relatives, their own civilian relatives as sting ops to harass and target people. Those people that were in that truck or that vehicle, that last vehicle, they're most likely law enforcement.